You don't feel lost because you failed. You feel lost because the version of your life you've been clinging to is quietly expiring. And deep down, you already know it. You can feel it in the way certain things no longer excite you the way they used to. The goals that once consumed your thoughts now feel strangely empty once you get close to them. The conversations that used to energize you now leave you emotionally drained. Even the routines you built to keep yourself motivated are starting to feel heavier than before. And maybe the hardest part is this. From the outside, your life might still look normal. You're still showing up, still functioning, still smiling when people expect you to smile, still carrying responsibilities, still trying to stay hopeful. But internally, something feels disconnected, like you've outgrown a version of yourself that your life is still expecting you to be. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because there's a shift happening inside you right now that most people completely misunderstand. And once you understand it, you'll stop blaming yourself for the delays, the confusion, and the strange emotional exhaustion you've been carrying lately, because your life hasn't stopped moving. It's changing direction beneath the surface. And the reason this season feels so uncomfortable is because part of you is trying to hold on, while another part of you is already trying to move forward. That internal split creates tension, confusion, restlessness. It makes you feel stuck even when transformation is already happening. And most people never realize this. Sometimes the reason life feels heavy is not because you're failing. It's because you're trying to force yourself to remain in a chapter that your soul has already outgrown. You've probably told yourself over and over that this year would finally be different. You'd become more disciplined, more confident, more healed. You'd finally stop repeating the same emotional cycles. You'd finally attract healthier relationships, more peace, more clarity, more purpose. You imagined yourself becoming someone new, but instead, what happened? Plans stalled. People became distant. Certain opportunities disappeared without explanation. Things you thought were finally working suddenly slowed down again. And every time you thought life was opening up, something redirected you. That kind of uncertainty can quietly destroy a person's confidence, because eventually you stop questioning the situation and start questioning yourself. You begin wondering if maybe you're the problem. Maybe you missed your chance. Maybe everyone else understands life better than you do. Maybe you're simply not enough for the kind of future you keep hoping for. But listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Not every closed door means you're being denied. Sometimes it means you're being redirected before you walk into something that no longer belongs in your future. And I need you to truly hear this next part. Your life is not collapsing because you are incapable. It's rearranging because the identity you built cannot carry you into the next phase of your life. That's why forcing everything lately has felt so exhausting. Because deep down, you can sense that some things are no longer aligned, but your mind keeps trying to force them anyway. And forcing creates noise. It disconnects you from your intuition. It traps you in constant overthinking. You begin monitoring every detail of your life, trying to regain a sense of control. You overanalyze messages. You replay conversations. You constantly look for signs that things are finally improving. You wake up already mentally overwhelmed before the day has even begun. And meanwhile, your nervous system never truly rests. You're physically present somewhere, but mentally you're always somewhere else, trying to solve tomorrow before today has even finished. That isn't peace. That's survival mode disguised as productivity. And here's the trap most people fall into. They believe if they just push harder, control more, stress more, worry more, they'll finally feel secure. But pressure does not create peace. Clarity does. And clarity usually arrives the moment you stop trying to force certainty out of situations that were never fully within your control to begin with. Think about your own life for a second. Some of the most meaningful moments happened unexpectedly, didn't they? Certain people entered your life naturally. Some opportunities appeared when you had almost stopped chasing them. Some answers arrived only after you finally became too emotionally exhausted to keep forcing things. There's wisdom in that pattern, because when you're constantly chasing outcomes, you become blind to what life is naturally trying to show you. And maybe that's what this season has really been about. Not punishment, not failure, not abandonment, but redirection. Maybe life has been separating you from things that no longer match the person you're becoming. Even if emotionally, you're still struggling to let go. I know waiting is painful, especially when you've carried hope for so long that it started feeling heavier than your actual problems. You kept believing things would improve soon. Soon you'd feel better. Soon life would make sense. Soon all the effort would finally pay off. But when soon stretches into months or years, it can quietly wear down your spirit because uncertainty is emotionally exhausting, especially when you're trying to heal and survive at the same time. But there's an important difference between waiting with trust and waiting while emotionally punishing yourself every day. Things don't happen. One creates resilience, the other destroys your inner peace little by little. And if you're honest, some of your exhaustion isn't coming from life itself. It's coming from constantly fighting reality in your own mind, fighting the timeline, fighting uncertainty, fighting the present moment because it doesn't look the way you hoped it would. Inner conflict drains enormous energy. That's why you feel tired all the time, even when you haven't physically done much. Your mind has been carrying tension non-stop. Now here's the shift that changes everything. You do not need to control every outcome in order for your life to improve. You do not need every answer before taking the next step. You do not need constant reassurance that everything will work out perfectly. You only need the willingness to continue moving forward without abandoning yourself in the process. That means showing up without attaching your entire self-worth to immediate results. It means allowing disappointment to exist without turning it into identity. It means understanding that delays are not always signs that your future is broken. Sometimes life slows you down because something inside you still needs to evolve before the next chapter arrives. And that truth is difficult to accept when you desperately want clarity right now. But look back at your life honestly. There are things you once begged for that would have deeply hurt you if they had happened exactly when you wanted them to. Relationships you thought you needed, opportunities you thought you missed, versions of success you thought would save you. But with time, perspective changed everything. You realized some losses were protection, some endings were necessary, some delays saved you from becoming trapped inside smaller versions of yourself. That's why this season is teaching you something deeper than patience. It's teaching discernment, teaching you to stop measuring growth only by external progress, because growth is not always dramatic. Sometimes growth looks like becoming calmer in situations that once destroyed you emotionally. Sometimes growth looks like no longer begging for attention from people who barely value your presence. Sometimes growth looks like finally choosing peace over constant emotional chaos. Sometimes growth looks like sitting alone without needing distraction every second just to avoid your own thoughts. That is growth too. And maybe the reason your life feels unfamiliar right now is because your old identity no longer fits, but your new identity hasn't fully formed yet. That in-between space can feel lonely because you no longer connect with who you used to be, but you haven't fully become who you're meant to be either. So you exist in this strange emotional transition where everything feels uncertain. But that space is not meaningless. It's sacred, because this is where emotional dependency begins to break. This is where self-awareness deepens. This is where clarity slowly returns. You are not being forgotten during this season of your life. You are being reshaped by it, quietly, gradually, in ways you probably won't fully understand until much later. And one day, you'll look back at this chapter and realize it was never empty. It was rebuilding your relationship with yourself. It was teaching you how to stop abandoning your peace just to chase validation, how to stop tying your worth to external outcomes, how to stop believing that your life only matters when visible progress is happening. And before this video ends, I want you to really sit with this thought. What if your life is not delayed? What if this chapter is preparing you emotionally for something your current perspective cannot fully understand yet? What if the confusion is temporary, but the transformation is permanent? Because not everything meaningful grows where people can immediately see it. Some changes happen internally first, silently, slowly, without applause, without proof. And yet those invisible changes eventually alter everything. So stop treating this season of your life like evidence that your future is ruined. It isn't ruined, it's unfinished. And unfinished stories always feel confusing when you're standing in the middle of them. That's the hardest part about transformation. When you're inside it, you mistake discomfort for failure. You mistake uncertainty for collapse. You mistake waiting for abandonment. But later, you realize the season you thought was destroying you was actually separating you from a version of yourself you were never meant to remain forever. Right now, you may not fully understand why certain things had to end, why certain people became distant, why plans changed, why life stopped responding to your effort the way it once did. But not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things leave because they cannot follow you into your next chapter. And sometimes parts of your identity must emotionally fall apart so a more honest version of you can finally emerge. Because growth is not just about gaining things. Sometimes growth begins with losing illusions. The illusion that your worth depends on achievement. The illusion that being chosen by others determines your value. Real transformation slowly removes those false foundations. That's why some of you feel emotionally exhausted lately, even when nothing dramatic is happening externally. Your inner world is changing. Your priorities are changing. Your perspective is changing. You are beginning to crave peace more than performance, depth more than validation, authenticity more than approval. And that shift changes everything, because eventually you stop asking, how do I force life to happen faster? And instead you begin asking, who am I becoming through all of this? That question changes the way you experience pain, because suddenly every delay is no longer proof that you are failing. It becomes part of your preparation. Every difficult season teaches you things success never could. How to sit with uncertainty without collapsing. How to remain hopeful without becoming emotionally dependent on immediate outcomes. That kind of emotional maturity cannot be rushed. It is built slowly, quietly, through moments nobody applauds. And that's why you need to stop comparing your timeline to everyone around you. Someone else moving faster does not mean you are moving wrong. Some people receive things early and lose themselves later. Others are delayed because life is building a stronger foundation underneath them first. And foundations matter, because anything built too quickly without emotional stability eventually collapses under pressure. So maybe this season is not here to punish you. Maybe it's here to strengthen your relationship with yourself before life gives you deeper love, bigger opportunities, or the future you've been praying for. That's why healing matters. Not just healing your pain, healing your fear of being left behind. Because life is not a straight line. There are seasons for expansion, seasons for confusion, seasons for rebuilding. And some of the most important seasons of your life will look unproductive to people who only understand visible success. But invisible growth is still growth. Healing is invisible before it becomes visible. Transformation is silent before it becomes obvious. The strongest emotional shifts often happen privately, in the moments where you stop chasing people who only love temporary versions of you. In the moments where you choose rest instead of constant self-punishment. That is real growth, not perfection. Not having your whole life figured out, but learning how to stay connected to yourself while life is still unfolding. So, if life feels uncertain right now, if things feel slower than you hoped, if you feel emotionally caught between who you used to be and who you're becoming, do not panic. You're no longer who you were, but you haven't fully stepped into who you're becoming either. And that in-between space can feel lonely, but it's also where your deepest growth is happening. Your resilience is being built. Your self-awareness is deepening. One day, you will look back and realize this chapter was never empty. It was teaching you how to stop abandoning yourself just to keep others comfortable. It was teaching you that peace is not something you earn after everything finally works out. Peace is something you practice while life is still uncertain. Before you leave, write these 4 words. I trust what's unfolding. Write it because you are making a decision to stop treating yourself like a failure just because life hasn't fully revealed its direction yet. A decision to stop fighting yourself every single day, because peace begins the moment you stop demanding that life explain itself immediately. And remember this, you are not late, you are not broken, you are not falling behind. You are simply becoming someone your old life could no longer contain, and that becoming takes time.